Hello folks, welcome back to another fantastic video on Light Source Engraving. My name is Patrick, and today we're going to do some rubber stamps. We're going to do a very small rubber stamp, and we're going to do a large rubber stamp. Now I'm going to show you the basics of what to do with your graphics and how to set up creating a rubber stamp. And you can run this on your CO2 gantry or a CO2 galvo, which is what I'm going to use. I'm going to show you the settings I use to engrave a rubber stamp and cut it out on a CO2 galvo. They turn out awesome. I'm super happy with them, and the detail that I'm getting out of a tiny stamp is quite impressive in my opinion. Hopefully you agree with me. But enough of the intro. Let's just jump right into Lightburn, mess with some graphics, and then get the burn started. Speaking of burn, I do want to point out, first and foremost, make sure you have a fire extinguisher in your shop and around your laser, especially working with this rubber, especially with a CO2 galvo. That's number one. Number two, you definitely need an air source flowing across the rubber material with the CO2 galvo. It doesn't have a traditional air assist like a CO2 gantry. However, I use my air assist kit with all my galvos, and I use it for the CO2 galvo when I'm doing wood, rubber, leather, whatever. It helps direct the smoke away, and as you'll see in the case of this rubber, it keeps the flare-ups to a very minimum. If you don't use an air assist kit like I sell on my website, you can use a fan, a little AC Infinity PC type fan. You can use a little desktop fan. You can use an air assist like you see on your CO2 and diodes with a little aquarium air pump. Then you can just have that line pointed right across the material. But whatever you decide to do, just make sure you have air flowing. Those are the two main safety points. Now let's just jump right into Lightburn. Alright, I have my workspace set up for my Lightburn CO2 galvo, and we are going to be doing two different size graphics. So I'm going to show you the two things that you need to get your graphics set up. I already have the small one resized, so I don't have to mess with that. So the first thing you need is your main graphic, which right here we have the pothead. And I want this stamp to be a total of 50 millimeters for the base that I'm going to mount it on. We'll just glue this rubber for when we make it a stamp, it doesn't actually stamp the edge outline. So I am making the graphic 47 millimeters. Here is my cut circle. This is 50 millimeters. And then because I don't want the cut to have any edges, perimeter that are raised, what I do is make my engraving area slightly larger. So that is 52 millimeters. So then once we pop this graphic in the center, we get the inverse, or the negative, which is engraved, leaving our stamp. And because this is a stamp, we need it to be mirrored, so we just click on the mirror tool, and there we go, and that's it. This graphic is prepped and ready. So by making this engraved outline around the outside, of course with Lightburn that inverses, it's the inverse of the graphic. So it's just that simple. And to make sure we don't miss anything, we can group these. And they're already centered in our galvo bed. And that's it. And I have the same thing prepared for the 8 millimeter graphic. So the main graphic just sits inside the cut line, and then our inverse layer is, well, what creates our inverse layer extends just a little bit outside the cut line, and then we end up with a nice stamp with no material left around the edges that leaves additional marks. And then we can group these, and then we have our two different size stamps. Now that we have our graphics set up, let's take a look at our engrave and cut settings. To engrave rubber stamp with a CO2 galvo, after lots of testing, I've found that if I run 2 sublayers, the first sublayer is a more aggressive engrave, and then the second one is, you could think of it as kind of like a cleaning pass, but it doesn't really just clean, it's also adding depth at the same time. So we start the first sublayer with a 0.1 line interval, and I have it set to 1 pass because it's a crosshatch. We do fill all shapes at once. We're running the speed of 150, power of 80, and I'm running the CO2 galvo at its max frequency of 50. I found the higher frequency does a much better engraving job than a lower frequency. The second sublayer, running a speed of 150, power of 20, frequency of 20. And then we tighten our line spacing a little bit just to bring out the detail. I have this run scan angle of 45 and 3 passes. The number of passes you run here will vary depending on the color of rubber, perhaps, or the rubber supplier. You might have to play with that to get the desired depth that you need. It is set to auto rotate, so if we run this layer and it's still not deep enough, you can turn off layer 1 and then change layer 2 to 1 or 2 passes and just run those until you hit your desired depth. And that's it for the engrave. For the cut, speed 150, power of 80, frequency of 50, and 3 passes. And I do add a wobble of 0.05 and 0.1. The wobble produces a nice clean cut. It only takes 3 times around to make that cut. And once that cut is made, you'll see a little bit of black soot develops on the rubber, but it cleans off very easily. So that's all you have to do, is just clean it up and it'll look great. And again, you need to have air running due to flare-ups. If you are running this on a CO2 galvo like I am, you will definitely want to have something covering your laser bed so that you're not marking it with your CO2 galvo. So I'll show you what I have. It is a large piece of aluminum plate that I use when I'm cutting anything with the CO2 galvo. I just throw that plate down and then cut it, whether it's leatherette, leather, rubber, acrylic. It works great. I do have my air assist hooked up there. You can see there's an air line running into it. It has a valve, a flexible tube and a flat nozzle, so you can move the air so it's covering whatever piece that you're working on your galvo bed. But that's what I use. You can use any fan that you have, any air source, just you have to have air flowing. I'm going to show you an example of that. I think we're going to start off with an example of that now as soon as I turn on the fume extraction. Let's bring you in closer, turn on the fume extraction, and show you what happens if you're not running air with these rubber stamps. As you can see, we have a little rectangle framing. I'm just going to run a little rectangle with the same engraved settings with no air turned on, just for a few seconds so you can see exactly what happens. And here we go. So that is not good. We do not want that to happen. So let me turn the air on now. The air is now turned on. You probably can hear that just a little bit. And I'll run the job again. And now we have 0 flare up, which is exactly what we want. Well, next to 0, but you see the dramatic difference. Now let's run our 50mm graphic and make our first stamp, and I'm going to speed it up and we'll see how this turns out. As you can see from this view, there's lots of rubber dust. Luckily, it's all being sucked up into that little hood. So not only does the air help with the flare-ups, it at least makes that dust direct itself towards the hood and kind of cleans it out of the engraving area too, so it's not being just burnt right back into the material. You know, it does. That's what it does. That's dust. That's dust. Other two. That's dust. I'm pouring in this tornado. I choose not to press at this point, run multiple times. However, you could run failure 1 and time 2, if down one time. And as you can see, straight off the laser, we have a really nice looking little stamp. I'll go get this cleaned up, come back, run the small stamp, see how it looks, and then wrap this video up. We're back. Big stamp is all cleaned up and looks wonderful. Small stamp, I can't show you on this camera. I'll have to take a picture. It's just too small to get all that text and the graphics. It actually did better than what I thought it would, to be honest. So, not bad for as tiny as it is. Not good enough to actually be used. So let's say you have, Pothead Coffee Company, and why would they want a little tiny stamp like that? Well, if you have a rewards card and you need 10 stamps or 9 stamps and you get a free coffee on the 10th, then maybe a small stamp is in order. That small? Probably not. Probably could be a little bit bigger, but we'll stick with the 8.5 millimeter. We're going to go into Lightbird, adjust that graphic, and then make our small stamp. So this is the 8.5. We're going to ungroup it. And then we're just going to work with this pothead graphic, and I'm going to ungroup it again. And I'm going to take and delete all this stuff and just leave this coffee cup. And we're going to delete this. And let's get rid of the beads. just get rid of everything. Now let's group this back together. Let's make it approximately 8 millimeters now. And we need to go a little bit smaller. So let's make it about 6. There, 6 millimeter coffee cup, nice inverted graphic. Okay, what we don't need is this little piece inside of there. So let's ungroup it again, grab this, delete it, and then regroup. Do this back. Let's center both ways, and there. That will make a nice little stamp. So let's burn that real quick and then come back and wrap up this video. And again, this is why you need air flowing for that flare up. All right, that's it. And you probably won't be able to see that, but that little coffee cup did turn out great. So a simple graphic at that size is no problem at all. All right, I'll clean that up and then wrap this up. To make this little rubber stamp, I'm just using a 1/4 inch wooden dowel, a little drop of the Bob Smith Industries CYA glue. I'll put links in the description for this, the rubber stamp material, everything. The easiest way to do this is make sure your stamp is upside down, dab your super glue on it, pick it up, and now you'll have your little stamp on your dowel. And see, that does look pretty good, doesn't it? Give that just a couple of seconds to dry. So of course, the next thing we need to do is test it out. And now we have a nice little coffee cup stamp. So I'm sure you're wondering about the big stamp. Well, be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's tested. The big stamp works. Although the technique for using such a large stamp is just a little difficult, especially to get the whole thing covered with ink. Let me show you what I mean. So you see, when working with this tiny stamp, it's really easy to fit that on the stamp pad and get a nice coating of ink. Really easy. But see, this larger stamp, it's kind of difficult to get on this stamp pad. Although I'd say that was a pretty good try. But to get a full coating of ink on this thing in such a tiny little stamp pad, it's somewhat difficult. But with a little practice, you can see how well it does. So now we have our two size stamps ready to go to the coffee shop and reward customers for buying more coffee. And again, to compare the size, we have our 8mm and our 50mm. Two stamps made off of the same machine, a new laser 30 watt CO2 galvo, 175 millimeter lens, 6x beam expander. So I think that's all the specs you need to know on that. And I hope you found this video helpful, so you too can make your own custom size rubber stamps. This is so big it won't even fit in the video frame. I'm gonna have to zoom out. That's a big stamp. So now that we're zoomed out, you can see big stamp, little stamp. Those stamps are not for tramps. Those are good stamps. Now that that's out of the way, if you want the pothead graphic, head to the Laser Maker's Realm. I have a video explaining how to do to make that pothead graphic and put it on a tumbler, and the graphic is there for free. You can download it. So check out the Laser Maker's Realm channel. Let's see. I do want to mention I do have a Patreon. I use that to support buying supplies and materials that I use in creating these videos and testing techniques. I went through a good bit of rubber sheets developing the technique for the CO2 galvo, and I tell you what, I think it turns out way better than on my CO2 gantry, and I use the galvo for stamps all day long. If you found this video informative or entertaining or neither, please share it on your social media. If you think it will help friends out or they might enjoy making fun of it with you, either way, share it and help me get some more views. I would appreciate it. Also, please hit the like button, and I would appreciate a subscribe. It's free, and if you're lucky, you might win a big rubber stamp. Or maybe not. I don't know, but we'll see. And I do like to remind folks that I do print and sell focal sticks for your CO2 galvo, fiber galvo, UV galvo. But any of these, they're adjustable. If you don't want to adjust them, then super glue them together like I do. I will have a link in the description for the rubber stamp making material. I'll also have a link in the description for the super glue and accelerator that I like to use, the Bob Smith Industries. It's available on Amazon as well. Those will be affiliate links, even though they're nickels and dimes, they add up to dollars, and eventually that'll be enough dollars to help me buy more materials to test and make more videos. So I appreciate it. Thank you. In conclusion, please make sure you have a fire extinguisher before you attempt this. Please make sure you have airflow across the rubber, and please make sure you have adequate fume extraction, because this stuff creates a ton of dust, as you can see in that video. It's got to go somewhere. You don't want it in your lungs. Get it outside of the building. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.